far beyond the watchful eyes of Imperial rule, nestled between the jagged peaks of Skyrim and the wilds of High Rock, lies a land untouched by peace, the Reach. This is a place of blood, stone, and defiance. Its people, the Reach folk, have endured centuries of persecution, branded as savages by those who fear what they do not understand. But the truth runs deeper than the rivers that cut through these highlands. Beneath the soil lie ancient pacts, old gods, and a history written not in ink, but in blood and bone. This is a land where the spirit of Nirn sings through briar and ash, and where rebellion is as natural as breath. Today, we dive into the lore of the Reach and the Reach folk. A tale of survival, sovereignty, and the price of remembering who you truly are. The Reachmen are a human culture native to the mountains of eastern High Rock and western Hammerfell. Their only major urban center is Markarth, and they are generally looked down on as savage raiders by other peoples of Tamriel. The Madmen of the Reach by Arianus Arius. Cultural Treatise on the Forsworn. Since the legendary victory of Tiber Septim over the barbarian natives in the Battle of Old Roldan, Imperial and Nord scholarship has cast the people of the Reach as little more than savages, prone to irrational fits of violence, worshipping old heretical gods, and fetishizing beasts and nature spirits that any civilized person would best well avoid. In truth, these accounts are little more than victors' essays, a perspective narrowed by the Empire's constant strife with the ancient proud people that lived in this land far before Tiber Septim walked the soil of Tamriel. In light of this, I hope to create a more complete, accurate, and fair assessment of a group that has long suffered under the role of enemy, troublemakers, and them. Let us begin with the Forsworn, the so-called Madmen of the Reach. The Imperial Legion classifies them as little more than brigands, noting their constant raids and ambushes within the hold. But none of their military reports asks the question of why. If they were merely a group of bandits, surely they would be focused on acquiring gold and minimizing deaths among their own. But the opposite is true in Forsworn attacks. Large sums of coin are often left behind, and their fighters easily throw away their lives rather than risk capture by Imperial soldiers. It is this incongruity that led me to Markarth, the capital city of the Reach, in search of answers. There I met one of the native peoples, an old woman who preferred to not be named in my writings. She told me of her family's long history, how she believes they originally came from High Rock, home of the Bretons, which would explain the similar faces and stature of the two peoples. How the Nords came and took their lands, their gods, and their culture from them. When asked about the Forsworn, the old woman would say that they are the real men and women of the Reach, those that refuse to give in to the Nords, those that still practiced the ancient traditions that the rest of their people had abandoned in exchange for peace. In time, I was able to create trust with many more natives in my search that corroborated the old woman's story. By chance, one of them arranged a meeting between myself and what I thought was an elder member of his village. I was shocked to find that I was led to a camp filled with the animal skulls, preserved heads, and still beating hearts that I had read about from the military reports back in the Imperial city. There I met Cortoran, a Forsworn who seemed amused at the prospect of me writing down his story, which I quote in full below. You want to know who the Forsworn are? We are the people who must pillage our own land, burn our own ground. We are the scourge of the Nords, the axe that falls in the dark, the scream before the gods claim your soul. We are the true sons and daughters of the Reach. The spirits and hags have lived here from the beginning, and they are on our side. Go back and tell your empire that we will have our own kingdom again. And on that day, we will be the ones burying your dead in a land that is no longer yours. On the Clans of the Reach by Theopho Harvian, Imperial scribe, written in Second Era 568, during the reign of Emperor Leovic. Until Durkarok, the Black Drake led the warriors of the Reach against Cyrodiil, few scholars ever describe the peoples of the Reach as anything other than howling barbarians. The rest of Tamriel views the Reach folk as one great unruly horde, existing in constant anarchy, a state of ignorance whose cost the Black Drake's warriors made only too clear a generation ago. Too late, the wise of Cyrodiil realized they had much to learn about the warlike race that now controls the Imperial city. In the interest of meeting that need, I set down what I learned about the Reach and its clans over the course of a 7-month trade embassy to Markarth. Currently administered by the appointed governor, Kadak of the Black Drakes. To begin, the Reach is home to scores of different clans, each with its own character and traditions. Some clans settle in one spot and build permanent camps, while others remain nomadic. Clans fall somewhere between extended family and home village. Some people in a clan are related to each other, but others adopt the clan name to mark their allegiance. New clans appear all the time as bands of like-minded Reach folk come together to settle new land, follow herds of game, or in more chaotic times, take up raiding to plunder neighboring lands. As a result, clans can be surprisingly fluid, breaking up and reforming over time. A clan chief leads each clan. Some call themselves chieftains, speakers, elders, or kings, although most Reachmen think calling oneself king is a sort of putting on airs. Decades go by in the Reach with no clan chiefs bothering to make the claim, but if enough Reach folk agree that one is strong enough to claim the title, then any clan chief can be a king. In fact, there have been periods of history when multiple clan chiefs called themselves kings at the same time. As the Reachmen say, anyone can be a king in the Reach, but no one is king of the Reach. Not even Durkarok claimed that title. To this day, Reachmen view the Longhouse Emperors as war leaders they follow of their own free will. Kneeling to a king, even a Reachman king in Cyrodiil, is a thing that weaker peoples do. As I noted, scores of clans inhabit the Reach. Most are minor clans, a tiny village, a nomadic band, a nest of marauders in some lonely cave or hold. However, some of the more prominent clans any traveler to the Reach should know of include the following. The Black Drake clan. Few in number, the Black Drakes rose under the great warlord Durkarok. Known to allies and enemies alike as the Black Drake, Durkarok rallied all the Reach to his banner and conquered Cyrodiil, founding the line of the Longhouse Emperors. His closest relatives and friends in the Reach took his famous appellation for their own clan name. Naturally, the other clans showed Durkarok's kin more respect than a clan of this size would otherwise command, and General Kadak himself is a Black Drake. The Cinderheart clan. A warlike clan often found near Markarth, the Cinderhearts are known for burning their captives alive. It is said that they prepare Briarhearts by filling the victim's empty chest cavity with hot coals, a particularly horrible refinement to an already gruesome ritual. The Eagle-Seer clan. Proud and warlike, the Eagle-Seers nurse feuds the way other clans look after their children. While that would appear to discourage contact with outsiders, they are in fact friendly and open to those they have no quarrel with. To the Eagle-Seers, visitors from other lands are simply not worth a good Reach feud. The Ghost Song clan. A reclusive clan from the wilds of the Eastern Reach, the Ghost Songs are known for their powerful witches and loyal werewolves. They hold a special reverence for Namira, who they refer to as the Spirit Queen. The Hill Hunter clan. Nomadic hunters who make their home in the mountains south of Markarth, the Hill Hunters are known for their woodcraft. Other clans say that no one can track a hill hunter unless they choose to be tracked. The River Elk clan. Strong in number, the River Elks dwell in a multitude of semi-permanent camps throughout the Karth Valley. While distrustful of foreign ways, they willingly engage in trade with foreigners who prove themselves friends to the clan. The Shadefeather clan. Thankfully few in number, the Shadefeathers are a clan under the sway of a strong coven of hag ravens. They waylay travelers throughout the Reach, murdering their captives in dark rituals. Not even other Reach clans are safe from their wickedness. The Shadefeathers frequently shift camps and kill anyone unfortunate enough to stumble across them. The Thornroot clan. Fierce and strong, the Thornroots usually camp in the vicinity of Briar Rock. Like the Shadefeathers, they are led by hag ravens, but they maintain non-hostile relations with neighboring clans and save their wrath for foreigners. Many of the clan's warriors choose to become Briarhearts, making the Thornroots very dangerous in battle. The Wildspear clan. A settled clan holding lands near Markarth, the Wildspears dedicate themselves to Hircine and honor the master of the chase with ritual hunts. They believe that humans, especially enemies who are strong and clever, make the best quarry for these bloody rituals. The Politics of the Reach, written by Consul Cardea, the Ard Administrator in Second Era 578. As Ard Kadik commanded, I have remained in Markarth to continue to serve the people of the Reach. I was sent here from my post in Imperial City by Emperor Leovic himself to aid Markarth and provide a conduit between Cyrodiil and the Reach. Though I have received no new orders from the person who now sits on the Ruby Throne, I had assumed to take my leave and return home. Ard Kadik decided he wanted to retain my administrative skills, and in case the new emperor is interested, I decided to record what I've learned in my decade of service. First, it is best to think of the Reach as not one land, but two: Markarth and the Wilds. Traditionally, whoever rules in Markarth exercises little power over the Wilds, while the strong clans of the wilderness lack the strength or the inclination to govern the city of the Reach. When Markarth is under the rule of a weak leader, or no leader at all as happens sometimes, its circle of influence shrinks. When a strong leader holds Markarth, the city's power extends into the nearby land, and the clans of the Western Reach must acknowledge Markarth's authority in fact, if not in name. The centuries-old story of the Reach is the story of Markarth attempting to form a realm, and the clans outside of Markarth fiercely resisting the encroaching authority of the city. The great difficulty in dealing with the Reach is the fact that each individual clan sees itself as its own polity, free to raid, trade, make war, or agree to peace with anyone it chooses. To forge a lasting peace with the Reach, one would have to negotiate with dozens of different clans, some of whom hate each other so much that they would never agree to honor a peace their enemies chose to accept. Astonishingly enough, this is just as true for Ard Kadok, ruler in Markarth, as it would be for a foreign ruler such as the new emperor. To the chiefs of the various clans, Ard Kadok is simply one more chief, due no more deference than they would show any of their peers. In fact, they regard him with great suspicion, believing that he intends to rule them as well. Fortunately, not all Reach folk seek to make enemies of everyone and everything. Ard Kadok is judicious in dealing with the free clans. He moves against them only when Markarth's interests are directly threatened. For example, when a vicious clan such as the Shadefeathers makes travel to and from Markarth too dangerous, or when a border clan such as the Bone Shapers seems likely to provoke a neighboring realm to retaliate indiscriminately against all Reach folk. Likewise, most of the larger Reach clans maintain a tenuous peace with one another. Clans that instigate reckless feuds are all too likely to provoke an alliance of the other clans against them. And all Reach folk believe that Markarth should be neutral territory, free to any wilder who wishes to go there and trade. A rough, wary sort of peace suits a good number of people in the Reach, while the power in the wilds of the Reach lies mostly in the hands of a half-dozen or so of the strongest clans: the Eagle Seers, the Six Fords, the River Elks, the Thornroots, and a few others. There is one more Reach tradition to consider when dealing with the clans beyond Ard Kadok's walls: the Chief of Chiefs. This is usually a clan chief who has won the respect of both friends and enemies, earning a sort of Chief Emeritus title. The Chief of Chiefs wields a great deal of moral authority over all but the most stubborn and xenophobic clans. Currently, the clans recognize a former River Elk chief by the name of Canir as the Chief of Chiefs. Canir is an arbiter of disputes and a peacemaker who spends her time settling feuds and mending alliances. Some of the more hostile clans see her as a meddler and would rather follow a warlord, but until Canir dies or chooses to give up her place, her voice is a powerful one in the wilds. When the clans need to work together, such as to engage in a particularly dangerous hunt or to repel a particularly strong invader, the Chief of Chiefs temporarily takes command of the participating clan's forces, coordinating a strategy in response until the threat has passed. These are but a few of the political realities I have come to understand in my time working with Ard Kadok and the people of Markarth. And lastly, we have a life barbaric and brutal, a very negative view of Reachmen culture from a woman abducted as a slave. However, as of the time of recording this video, only one chapter has been found. Chapter 1. Abducted by the Reachmen. I was born in Mercian's hamlet, just north across the Builsay from Evermore. My mother was a weaver, and my father was a boat builder who made small fishing smacks and coracles for the river trade. I remember my youth as a happy one, playing around the docks where father worked, or hunting through the near woods for entaloma caps and hickory nuts. It was while doing the latter one day that I strayed a bit further from the hamlet than usual, pushed my way through a briar thicket, and suddenly found myself staring at a pair of human skulls. Startled, I shrieked and dropped my basket of nuts. By the time I realized that what I'd seen was a skull on a staff next to a woman's face painted like a skull, I'd been knocked down, bound, and thrown over her shoulder. I was being borne away to the north, away from my home and into the mountains. I began to kick and scream, at which the women threw me down, bound me tighter, and gagged me into the bargain. Then she resumed carrying me off into the wild. Eventually, I passed out from sheer exhaustion. When I awoke, it was dark, but I could see forms in the dance of firelight, silhouettes sporting horns, bones, spikes, feathers. Reachmen. I closed my eyes and tried to wake up, but it was no nightmare. When I opened my eyes, they were still there. My gag was gone, so I cried out for water. The skull-faced woman, whom I later learned was named Voanch, brought me a cup. She checked my bonds, and where I winced in pain, she actually loosened them a little. This surprised me, as I'd always heard that the Reach clans were barbarians, wicked Daedra worshippers who reveled in cruelty. Maybe, once they realized how distressed I was, they would set me free and send me home. It was a false hope. I was to be the captive of the Crowwife clan for the next 8 years. The Reachmen were far more complex than I had been led to believe in my Breton home. But in one thing we were right. Barbarism and cruelty are everyday facts of life in the Reach. Voanch was a horse breeder who had abducted me because she needed a slave to tend to her livestock, since her former thrall had died of a kick to the head. She had given me water and loosened my bonds solely out of concern for the condition of her new possession. Voanch's clan was ruled by a hagraven named Cloavdra, a claw-fingered crone who was a witch shaman of considerable power. She was a priestess of Namira, the spirit Daedra, the lady of ancient darkness who commands repulsive vermin such as spiders, insects, slugs, and serpents. Because Namira is the mistress of small pests, the Reachmen call her the Children's God. They are not without humor, though their jests are always malicious. At every 2 moons dark, Cloavdra would draw lots at random from the children of the clan, both Reach and slave, to select a sacrifice to the goddess of the dark. The chosen child would end up on the ever-oozing altar, where Cloavdra would cut out its heart as an offering to Namira. Every time I was sure it would be me, but the name feather drawn was always of another. Cloavdra's hag husband was a crude and vicious man named Cointhak. He was a grave singer, a witchman shaman who could command the dead. In our land, we'd call him a necromancer. He was always looking sideways at Voanch and licking his lips, as at a savory roast fowl. Though he had power in the clan and was feared by all, Voanch threatened him with disdain, which would sometimes provoke him into sending hoot haunts into her tent at night, or hexing the horse's oats with writhworm. Voanch never turned a hair, just threatened to complain about Cointhak to his hagwife Cloavdra, which always sent him packing. Life was hard in the Reach. Crowwife was a hunting clan, so our life was following the herds across the wastes. It was a rugged and perilous existence, where life could be snuffed out in a heartbeat by the antlers of an elk buck or the fangs of a saber cat. But what I feared most were the semi-annual crossings of the Karth River in the wake of the tundra herds. It was my job to help Voanch and her useless daughter swim the horses across the ice-cold, swirling current, and every time I was certain would be my last. How I wished I had learned to swim in the Bjolse, like my 2 brothers, whenever the Karth had me in its grip. Occasionally, during a crossing, one of the horses would panic and break free of us, which usually meant drowning and death for it. Then Voanch and I would search far downstream till we found where its body had washed up, so we could skin and unmake the dead horse for its valuable fat, flesh, and bones. Nothing was wasted among the Reachmen. It was during my 6th summer as a slave of the Crowwives. I had crossed the hated Karth 11 times, that I began to attract the unwanted attentions of Iachnal, the loutish son of Cloavdra and Cointhak. He expressed his attraction by pushing me into mud puddles or putting dead voles in my stew. He was a year younger than me, but soon I knew he would want me to be the object of more than just practical jokes. As the son of the Hagraven, He could do pretty much whatever he wanted with impunity, and Vawanch couldn't protect me by complaining to Cluavdra. The old virago would just cackle and wave her away. So, at night, when I should have been sleeping in my pile of furs, I started making a spear. That concludes Chapter 1, and as of now, Chapter 2 does not exist. The Reach is more than a battleground. It is a legacy carved into mountains, whispered in rituals and kept alive by those who refuse to forget. The Reach folk are not simply survivors. They are keepers of an ancient bond between land, spirit, and self. To some they are rebels, to others heretics, but to the Reach itself, they are home. As we leave these wild highlands behind, remember this: history is not always written by the victors. Sometimes it is kept alive in song, in blood, and in the stubborn will of a people who will never be tamed. Thank you for walking these untamed paths with me. If you enjoyed this journey into the heart of the Reach, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales from the Elder Scrolls. Until next time, may the old gods watch over you, and may your roots always find the stone.